So that's one of my favorite Bob Dylan refrain chorus songs, Maggie's Farm. It's at the Newport Folk Festival when he went electric, shocked everybody.
That's Mike Bloomfield on lead guitar, killer player.
Yes. Caused an outrage among the near riot. So many, got a lot of boos. The folk fans wanted to hear him sing Blowing in the Wind. And he was ready to go in a new direction. Well, I hope that you're working intentionally and consistently between class meetings. My prediction is that if you put in 4 more hours a week, that your awareness is going to grow of music in general, and that you'll be able to, you'll have more ideas when you're working with music production. So I hope that you notice over the course of the semester that your concept of music increases by composing your own music and listening to songs in a new way. Let me start sharing my screen there. All right, so what we're going to do today, we have 3 things to look at. We want to make sure you know how to create and link your lyric sheet. Hopefully you've brought in the chord progressions and you're ready to do that now, so you'll be able to complete that by Tuesday. And the sooner that you can have the chords to go with your songs in a consistent number of bars, the easier it'll be for you to sing those. I'm going to show you your team portfolios. Each of you is in a group of 3 or 4 people, and you're going to, starting next week, you're going to be recording your songs together. And the way that you're going to present your work to the class and to the public at large is through these online portfolios. I'll show you those. And then we'll also lay the groundwork for starting to do the recording next week. So we'll listen to the recordings that you're going to make of your individual songs in class, but we want to hit the ground running and start thinking about how you're going to turn that into a more polished recording the following week. So what I'd like to do first is to check that you're on track on how to create and link your lyric sheet. So here's a good example from Mason. You're not required to put the chord symbols in bold, but it makes them stand out. The most important thing is that they line up with the syllable where they change. So that's the most important thing. And this is a really good example of having a blank line between pairs of lyrics. So you don't want to have a blank line between the chord symbol and the lyric that goes underneath it. So that visually it's really clear that that A flat, the first A flat goes with the word growing. And the D flat chord with the A flat in the bass changes at the word your. And we go back to A flat at alone. So don't put a blank line between your chord symbol and the lyric that it goes with, but do put a blank line between pairs. And that way they really stand out that that's the first line and the second line. By having a blank line between them, visually it will be really clear where the chord symbol belongs to. Matt, you're going to add your chord symbols. You got a good start on your lyric sheet. So you'll be adding the chord symbols to that. And then do away with the labels. We don't need to see verse 1, verse 2. If it's clearly written and we have a refrain at the end, we're going to understand that where the verses are. But you can put a blank line between your verses to make them stand out. So eliminate any labels like that. Nicholas has done that. I see that it looks to me like there's an extra blank line before the refrain. So I've written no there. I think you only want 1 blank line, but do put an extra blank line between the verses. That will make one verse stand out from the other. So you can delete that first blank line, but keep the second one. And that way we see, here's the first verse separated with a blank line from the second verse. And again, it just helps us visually. We're trying to make it easy for people who are playing along to play as easily and quickly, learn the song as quickly as they can. That's the goal of making charts for our songs. Jeffrey, you don't put the whole, don't show us the long link to your Google Doc. Instead, highlight the word, select the words lyric sheet, and then click on the link button and make that that long URL for the Google Doc, make that be the link. The visitor doesn't need to see that long URL on the page. It's much more elegant just to see the words lyric sheet and click on those and be taken there. Do you have any questions about that? Do you know what I mean? Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think I get it.
Okay, so just copy that link that I've X'd out, then select the words lyric sheet, click on the link button and paste that in, and then all we'll see is a link to the word lyric sheet. And if they click on that, it will take them to that Google Doc. So the demo of the song that you're going to make of your own original refrain chorus song, that'll be due in class on Tuesday. And we'd like that to be, the recording of that be linked from your portfolio and the lyric sheet be linked from your portfolio. And that's how we're going to play these songs in class, is by going off of the portfolios. I think one of the upsides about working in a distributed and remote fashion here in the class is that you'll learn how to distribute your music and collaborate with people at a distance. So instead of turning in the work to Canvas, you're going to turn it in through your portfolio. And in class, it'll make it a lot simpler. We can just go from one portfolio to another and click on the links and audition your music that way. So in class, each person will play their song and we'll be looking at their lyric sheet as we go along. Why add chord symbols to a lyric sheet? I think there's a good argument to leave them out. If it says lyric sheet, why not just have the lyrics in there? And I can see the reasoning for that. What is the reason for adding chord symbols to a lyric sheet if we decide to do that? Why put them in? Philip, let's see, Nicholas, do you have any theory for why that would be a good thing to do?
Maybe it helps us understand the form better.
So if you see a recurring chord progression, you go, aha, this is this line. Could be. You could see that each second line has the same chord, so you can see there's a relationship. Any other reason for putting in chord symbols to a lyric sheet? Matt?
Maybe so people can play along with your song.
Yeah, other people can play with you. If you haven't played your song for a few weeks or come back in 6 months, it can help you remember how to play it. What information is missing there? We know when to change the chord symbol if we're following along with the lyric, but what would make it easier for a performer to play along with than seeing the chord symbols superimposed over lyrics? Kieran?
I'm not completely sure I understand the question.
When you're seeing a lyric sheet with the chord symbols over it, and say you're playing guitar along with somebody, it's their song, you don't know the song. You're listening to the lyrics, and when they get to a certain line in the song and there's a new chord symbol, you go to that chord symbol. What would make it easier for you as a player? What could you write out for them that would be easier to follow than a lyric sheet with the chord symbols over the syllable where they change?
Roman numerals.
We're not going to use Roman numerals because we're not in a theory class. That's a good idea. In Nashville, they do things like that. They write out their chord progressions with numbers, so it makes it easy to transpose. Caroline, do you have any idea about that?
Like ways to make it easier for the musician playing it?
Yeah, for someone, a guitarist, to play your song along with you and just read it down and accompany you first time through and have a good chance of playing it right.
I don't know. Don't they normally have like tab sheets too? Could you put those up instead of?
Yeah, what's a tab sheet look like?
I'm not really sure. I think they have like, it looks like a little guitar like neck, and it shows you like where you put your fingers. It's just
Right.
having...
It shows you, if you don't read music, which fret to put your finger on. Wayne, do you have any other idea? Tab sheet still doesn't help with the beats.
Yeah, we need rhythms or durations, right? That would help more.
Yeah, it would. This, I think, would be easier for a guitarist to play along with. It just looks like a standard piece of music. And what's the advantage here, Wayne, of seeing it like this over a lyric sheet?
It gives the musician time to prepare for what's happening next instead of just like, oh, they switched to the word with the chord I need to go to.
Right, and kind of with the feel, if you're making some rhythmic pattern, you're going to change the chord on the first beat, the third beat. It shows you, you know, you can count along with this. It's just a lot easier to play off of than a lyric sheet. So next week you'll make or for the song number 2, you'll make a chord chart for your song, and that will make it easier for people to play along with. All right, so I'm going to show you how to upload your recording from SoundCloud. If you can record the song on your laptop, you can use Audacity. That's a free program. There's lots of programs to record the audio of you singing with your song. Once you get it as a file on your computer, you can create a free account on SoundCloud. You can click on that upload word at the top or on the box. You say you want to upload a file. Keep track of your username and password in SoundCloud, the way you're going to do that with Noteflight. You choose the file you want to upload. I'd make it public so anybody can listen to it. You can put in some custom artwork rather than just seeing a generic sort of washed out color scheme. So that makes it kind of nice. Try to come up with a picture that kind of represents the meaning of your song. You give it a title. You can say what genre it is, and then it'll give you the URL to link to that where it is on SoundCloud. And it's already highlighted there for me in blue. So all I have to do is copy that. And then I go into my portfolio. I select the word recording. I click on the link button and I make a link to that URL. And then when a visitor comes to my portfolio and clicks on the word recording, it just magically takes them to where the recording's been installed on SoundCloud. Does anybody have any questions on how to do that? Does that make sense? You can link anything you want to your portfolios. Your portfolios are kind of just templates, but I'd love to see somebody link their rhyme worksheet to it, or put a picture of them, or a little interview clip of what was the backstory to the song. Anything you can do to add value and make the material more interesting, engaging to listeners is going to bring them into your music more. There's just such a glut of material out there on the internet. Anything you can do to make it more engaging for visitors, the better. All right, the second thing I want to do today is work on the mechanics of team portfolios. Again, each team's going to have their own portfolio to link from the group songs that you're recording. And I've already set those up on Canvas. Next Tuesday, we're going to listen to your individual songs, and then your team's going to pick one of its group members' songs to record. So the oranges will pick one of the orange members' songs to re-record, and the Kiwis the same. And then you're going to try to do a more polished recording of that song as a group. And that will be due the following Tuesday. And then the way we're going to play it in class is you're going to link that recording that your team has done from your team portfolio. You can find those on Canvas under the portfolios section. There's also links to portfolios from previous classes. So if you want to see what other teams in the past have done, again, we're doing this to share with each other, but also share with other people. Here are the 4 teams. And if you click on the name of the fruit, it will take you to your team's portfolio. 3 or 4 of you have sent in your Gmail addresses when we were making our Google Docs, our portfolios last week. If your name's here, please email me your Gmail username so that I can make you an editor of your team's portfolio. So if you see your name there, please email rkwilly@bsu.edu with your Gmail address so that I can add you. If you're doing it from your Gmail account, if you would tell me who you are. Sometimes people have interesting Gmail names and they're not their real names. So let me know who you are so I know which name goes with which Gmail address. Okay, so here's the Kiwis group portfolio. Abigail, if you would pull up, go onto Canvas, find your group's portfolio, And then imagine that that the Kiwis on Tuesday have decided it's going to be Artie's song that you want to re-record as a group. So put in Artie's name as the composer and then make a link from Artie's name to his portfolio. That way, if some visitor comes along and they say, I love this song, I wonder who this artist is, they would be able to click on it and see all the work they've done this semester for the class. And then for the link for recording, just pick any old thing off SoundCloud or YouTube. Just make a link somewhere. Both of these you're going to actually replace next week. This is just a test to see how it might work. So if, Abigail, if you'd go ahead and share your screen and let us watch you attempt to do that, to add Artie as the composer of the song and make a link to his portfolio and a link from the word recording to someplace on the interwebs. Thank you. So she found the portfolio by going on Canvas. Yes, you can see it. Thank you. So talk to us while you're doing it so we know what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So I'm on this Kiwi portfolio. Yes, Kiwis love it. Okay, so I changed the composer to Artie's name, and then you said you wanted the recording just to be a SoundCloud link.
Yeah, but first make a link from Artie's name to his individual portfolio.
Okay. Yeah. This thing is in the way. How do I get rid of it? Ha. Okay. From the lyric sheet to, okay.
No, from his name to his portfolio. And you can get the link to his portfolio from up there above.
From Canvas. Oh, is it already linked here?
Yeah, so explore that
Okay.
link or just do copy link. Yeah, good. So you pulled up his portfolio. You're going to copy the URL at the top.
Yep, copied. And then over here, and then
On the link button,
Link.
good.
insert link, paste.
Okay, does anybody
Good.
have a question on how that worked? Okay, do you have a SoundCloud, Abigail?
Yeah, I do.
Or you could just go to
I do.
YouTube. It doesn't really matter what it is, but let's see how it would work with SoundCloud.
Oh, that's amazing that it's not gonna make me re-log in. Okay, you have a SoundCloud. Am I just putting up anything?
Yeah, find a song and let's see where we get the link to it.
Okay. What's this? Go away. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. I don't want this one. Do you want to embed it or just the link?
Just the link. So
Okay.
that's the link to the song. So you copy that link. Good.
And then link it to recording?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Cool.
So does anybody have a question on how to make that work? Of course, you're going to change, put out whoever's composer, whoever song you pick on Tuesday, you'll put their name in as the composer, and you'll eventually link to your group recording the following week. So those things may change, or the recording will certainly change. And you can link to their lyric sheet wherever they have it on their portfolio, and you then give the performers and the producers credit for whoever ends up working on the group recording. Any question about that?
I have a question about the production part of it. So like obviously performance, everyone's going to be performing to make the piece together, but then does everyone produce their own version of it, or do you just have like certain people working on that?
Your group's the Kiwis are gonna come up with one recording that everybody's gonna help on. So that's one of the things we need to start discussing is how are we gonna do that? When is it gonna happen and where's it gonna happen? Who has what kind of tools and what they're good at and all that. So that's what we're going to start. We'll start talking about that later in class today. And then on Tuesday, we'll really, after we've listened to the song, and Thursday, we'll bear down in class and figure that out. But you'll have one recording as a group.
So I have a question then. Able to book the studios somehow and use them at all, or is this all going to have to be like outside using our own equipment?
It's my understanding you can use the studios, that your swipe card should work. If it doesn't work, let me know. You should be able to sign up for times. Jeff Seitz is the mastermind of all that. What he told me is that there's no chemical that can clean the equipment that won't destroy it. And even if you tried to do it and destroyed the equipment, it probably wouldn't kill the virus. So it's going to be up to you to decide, if you're working in a group of 3 or 4, how you're going to do that, whether you want to work at home. Be sure to wash your hands after you use the equipment. But I believe that you can go in small groups and work in the studio.
Okay, and do you know how we would like sign out a time? Is there like a sign up sheet somewhere online
If you go to
that we would have to go to?
If you go to the MMP studio page, there's a sign up schedule. It should be the same as what you did for 235 or 236.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so you're welcome. Would you stop sharing your screen and all right, so I'm going to take it back over. Let's look at Amani and Jeffrey. Amani, are you there? Didn't see you at the beginning of class. How about Jeffrey? Jeffrey, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, would you do the same thing for the bananas? Would you link up, put in one of the names as composer and link up to their portfolio? Just the same thing that Abigail did. We'll just try it again.
Bless you.
So share your screen and show us how you do that. Put in somebody's name and
Just about had to log in.
do share your screen so we can watch we can be amazed by your process. And while you're out there waiting, you can be emailing me your Gmail addresses if I don't have them. Remember to give me your actual name when you do that so I know who's who. Jeffrey, do you see the button to share your screen?
The one by the chat button?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you do that, notice that at the bottom, there's an option to include your computer audio. That won't be important now because you're not going to be playing anything. But if you ever plan to play some audio, you want to check that box before you hit the share button so that we hear the sound coming through your computer, not just what the microphone's picking up. It'll sound a lot better that way.
Okay.
So share the screen, look at the bottom for that. Notice that there is an option to share your computer audio. You don't need to do that now, but click on the window click on the icon for the window you want to share for your desktop. There we go. So go into Canvas, find our class. Where do you find your group portfolio? And you have write permission because you sent me your Gmail address. Okay, so change the composer of song 1 to be one of your team members. Okay, how are you going to get the URL for Alex's portfolio? Good. And did you see he just copied the link there? That's a shortcut to doing that. Very good. Anybody, any questions about that? Okay, if you would stop sharing your screen then, Jeffrey, and we'll go on. Thank you. All right. Let's see, who's next? Nick, let's see. Nicholas, pretend that you've picked Philip's song. Do the same thing. Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
And this is part of the Zoom experience, everybody learning how to share their screens and take over and make presentations. And I think it's a good skill beyond just the songwriting part. And the upside of COVID isolation is that we learn how to do working groups and collaborate and give presentations online. Did you see the share screen button?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to quit Zoom because I had to change my preferences for it.
All right. Well, are you confident you'd be able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've seen a couple of people do it. And anybody have any questions for how that would work? You won't be doing that until your groups made their song, but that's what the purpose is of these group team portfolios. All right, so how can you test these links to make sure that they'll work for anyone, not just you when you're logged into Google? So the risk is that when you link to something in your portfolio, it will work because you're logged into Gmail, you're logged into Google, and Google allows you to display your own Google Docs. But how can you be sure that you shared your document correctly and that if somebody else clicks on it, they won't get that dreaded message of you don't have access permission, which we discovered last time when we were making our individual portfolios? How can you test your links to make sure that they're going to work for anyone, not just you?
Put them in an incognito mode.
Yeah, what does incognito or privacy mode do for you?
Makes you so that you're not signed into anything.
Okay, does everybody understand that? That when you open up a browser window in private mode, I think that's on Safari, or incognito mode when you're in Chrome, when you're inside that window, the browser doesn't keep track of who you are. And so if you go to your Gmail, say your Gmail is working in one window, but you make an incognito window and you go into that and you go to Gmail, it's going to ask you to log back in. If you have multiple Gmail accounts, that can be a useful thing. So you can be having different credentials in different windows. But that is what I'm looking for. Wayne, could you show us how to do that? Go into your, share your screen, go into your individual portfolio, and then show us how you would test the link to your lyric sheet in an incognito mode window. It's kind of a multi-step process there. Share your screen first so we can be amazed at your dexterity. Where do you find the link to your portfolio?
Geez, it wouldn't let me unmute myself. Okay. So to my portfolio, we can go in and go to our team sheet, and I can just go ahead and copy this. Actually, I would probably have to copy link URL.
You could also go under in Canvas, under the portfolio section, there is a link to each person's portfolio too. That's another option. There's many ways to
True.
get there.
I had that bookmarked, so I just did that. And now I'm in incognito mode, and I'll just paste and go. And it did pull it up. So
So I pulled it up, and now try clicking on the lyric sheet.
and that works too.
Okay, so he's in incognito mode. Google doesn't know his account information. He was able to pull up his portfolio. He was able to click on the links, and they worked. So be sure to do that before Tuesday, because we don't want to be having a lineup and going through from song to song, boom, 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 and we get to yours and it says this, you don't have permission to view this link, because I'm going to be opening them up, not you. We don't want to log in and out and share screens and do that for each song. It'll slow us down. Any question about why we use incognito mode and how to test it that way? We didn't see you in your browser actually create one. Could you open up your browser again?
Me?
Yeah, Wayne, and show us how you make an incognito mode.
Oh, sure. Round 2. Okay, so I'll just close everything, and then I just right click on down here on the icon, and
Yes.
then call it, and then a new incognito window.
Okay, once
I
you're
believe-
in Chrome, show us the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner.
So you can also open up here and
Yeah.
go new incognito
And I
window,
think
so
on
it's-
Safari, you do it under File, but it's either on Chrome, it's the 3 dots. You can say, open a new incognito mode window. Okay, great. So why don't you stop sharing your screen? And I will go back here. So that's the answer to that question. That's how you're going to test your links. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do today is start thinking about how we're going to make that recording that people are going to love so much that they're going to want to play it more than one time. So how do you have any ideas? Anybody comes to mind for what you can do to make an outstanding recording that people are going to love? If you've got a week to do it. Any ideas? Abigail? As a team of Kiwis?
For the team of Kiwis, I would just say to write a boppin' song and have talent and try your best.
Yeah, having a great song is key. Having good performers with good instruments that are in good shape and using good recording techniques, it all helps. Having a great vocal performance, but it does start with a good song. Jeffrey, do you have anything to add to that?
I can't really think of anything beyond that. Mainly just, to stay the course, not get frustrated, not just in terms of writing, but recording. I've been in situations where I've seen people record and it's easy to get frustrated if something doesn't come out naturally. So you can't really quit and say, this doesn't work, this sucks. You gotta at least stay with it, know how to pace yourself, take a break whenever you're writing and recording stuff, but don't give up.
Good. Has anybody ever been in a band? Do you have any perspective of how a band is able to, what makes a band able to play a song well?
Practice. Practice is key.
Yeah.
Getting together with your band and practicing is huge, especially if you're going into the studio to record.
Yeah, I think, the temptation is let's go in the studio and we'll learn the song there and we'll lay it down, we'll fix the mistakes. You can do it that way. It's like writing a paper without having an outline. But if you can nail the song when you go in and you've played it 50 times before audiences and you've found what about it really makes people go crazy. That's why the Beatles were able to go in the studio and record a whole album in a day, because they'd spent months in the cavern of this club in Germany playing 15 hours a day to tough crowds, all different styles. And there's nothing like having practiced the song and played it over and over. So if there's any way you can get together and safely practice the song before you go in and record it, and if you can record it all together in one room I know it's a little different now with COVID, but I think you could be so, in Soundhouse A, there's plenty of space. You'll save time if you don't try to get people isolated with headphones. You know, you spend half the time or more coming up with a headphone mix. If you can be in a room and all playing it together at one time, I think it will really groove more. How do you make it be an emotional experience, not just a clean sounding recording, but how do you, ideally songs are supposed to create feelings in people. How do you make it an emotional experience for the listener so they feel something, not just they get entertained by the surface texture of it? Nicholas, do you have any ideas about that?
I don't know. I don't know, put your heart and soul in it.
Okay, so you got to really feel it convincingly when you play. Artie, anything to add to that?
To me, it's just when it's relatable. Like whenever I can relate to the song, I can get into it.
So you're saying it goes back again to having like Abigail said, having a strong song that's easy to understand and relate to. This word prosody, we're going to talk a lot about in the class, and it's basically having the music support the meaning of the words. So we've talked a lot so far in the class about having a clear progression of ideas and making as simple as possible so the listener knows what you're talking about. Now, when you start making your group recording, you want to really study the words and figure out what's this song about and what can we do musically to reinforce that. So it might be a change of the chord. You get to a sad word, you do a minor chord. You have some part of the song where it's a wider perspective and it seems like it's some universal theme. That's the place maybe to add background vocals. You don't just add them because it's cool to add background vocals. There's a reason for it. You add them in the song where there's a need based on the words. Your production technique, when you're thinking about what compressor settings to use and how much reverb, what's the song about and how can you use your production to intensify that emotional experience? So prosody is finding every characteristic, every parameter of the music to support what the words are about. So that's why it's important to have that lyric sheet. Really study that and say, how can we deliver the meaning of these words and try to create an emotional experience for the listener? So that's where I think a music production program, our songwriting class is a little bit different than a class for people who are only just wanting to be songwriters, is that everything you do in music production can now be in support of the song. You're not just trying to get the right levels and the right compressor setting and the right balance between instruments. The balance between instruments, which instrument is key to the feeling of this song. Everything you do is to support the song. And so when you're making your recordings, you're doing it from a different concept than maybe you've done in your 235 and 236 classes. How can you get the best vocal performance? Caroline, what do you think? If you got a week to record this, how are you going to get the best vocal performance you can?
Well, maybe just talk with your group and see who has the most experience singing or would feel most comfortable singing, I think.
Yeah. So that could be a factor in when you decide which of your songs to record. Just practically, what lends itself best to the group we have and the tools we have. Some song might really want to Phil Spector wall of sound and you don't have 20 instrumentalists to come in and do that for you. So pick the right song, you might want to go outside your group and find a singer who can come in and sing it for you. There's a lot of people who sing who would like to have a studio experience and it could be a nice opportunity for them. Once you start doing the recording, Grant, how do you end up with the best performance?
The best performance?
Yeah, say you were going to record a vocal and you wanted to get the best vocal track you could. Do you have any ideas for how you would get that from your singer?
Well, if you're singing, that's like just like the most emotion as possible, I guess. So again, practice.
Yeah. I'd go through the lyric sheet and maybe underline the most important words. You don't want to just sing the words and get the pitches right. You know, you have to try to figure out what's the most important word in each line and emphasize it. Has anybody ever done a comping vocals or a solo where you have multiple takes and you take the best part of each section? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. And that's another thing. You can print out the lyric sheet and say you have 4 takes. You can go through with 4 different colored pens and underline the best sections of each take so that you can see, oh, I want to use the take 2 for the first line and take 3, you know, that's highlighted in red for the 4th line. And different colored pens can help you as you're listening back to the tracks to see if you have a good performance for each part of every chorus, every verse. Any other ideas on how to get the best, strongest vocal performance? It's really important to selling the song. Kieran, do you have any other ideas for getting a killer vocal performance?
Not particularly.
Okay, did I hear anybody else chime in?
Practice.
Practice, yeah. Rehearse the song, practice singing it. I think Wayne said in the chat room last time, I didn't notice, you know, this is a safe space. So, you know, these demos that you're making, we're all here to be supportive and help each other, and just go for it. You know, let it rip when you're doing your group recording. How do you make a rhythm track that really gels and ends up grooving? Because after the vocal performance, I think that's what really engages people in pop music. How hard do they tap their foot to it? You know, how danceable is it? That was the criteria on American Bandstand when they rated how great the songs were. Any idea on how to get a good rhythm track? Matt, do you have any experience with that?
Yeah. I would say the best rhythm guys are the guys that have played together the longest. So maybe if you're gonna be in a rhythm section, or like if you're doing backing tracks, make sure you're like really familiar with the other people and make sure you can gel with the other people.
Yeah, you are free to bring in other people to help you in your recordings. You could start with other people in the class. You know, maybe the Kiwis and the Bananas end up making a little alliance to help each other, you know, share a pool of players. I tried to distribute you so there's a drummer, there's a guitarist, there's a bass player, or somebody who plays keys. So that'll be something you'll look at, what skills you have and how you can arrange the song for the instruments you can get. Do you start out recording just the drums? I mean, that's a great thing to do in the studios because we have all the wonderful microphones and the beautiful acoustic spaces. If you're starting out with just the drums, how do you end up having the other instruments lock up with that? Or is it better to record drums, bass, and guitar at least together?
I feel like you want to start with like a scratch track of vocals first so that the drummer can be listening to that and can kind of know like the feel of the song and what they're doing. And then once the drummer gets locked in to their beat, then you would record everything else on top of it and then like add in like the real take of vocals after that so that like the vocal is more like locked into the drums, but it can also still like vibe around a little bit.
I mean, that might be one strategy when you're making your simple demo. Do it with a click track to the point where you could give that to a drummer and the next week and they could play along with it. Or if you don't want to do that, quickly make them one, you know, give them a recording before they go in to play. How would they listen to that scratch track while they're playing?
Headphones.
So would you play it headphones off your phone, or would you try to get a headphone feed off of the DAW?
Personally, I would try and get a headphone feed off of the DAW.
Why would that be better than a headphone feed or just playing it through your phone with earbuds or headphones?
Because if it's already in like the DAW, then you can, and you're recording like the drum track into it, and it's both in the same place. I feel like it would line up a lot better than having it playing through your phone.
Right, because the phone click track's not going to align with the beats of the DAW. So if you could make a background for the drummer to play along with a scratch vocal and maybe the chord progression, and then you replace those later, but that click is locked up with the recording, and it's you can quantize stuff and you know how many beats there are and everything. So yeah, if you can figure out how to get a headphone return from your DAW, that seems like the best situation if you have just the drums playing by themselves. What would be the advantage of having the drums, guitar, and bass playing all together rather than having the drummer lay down their part by themselves?
It allows you to basically ebb and flow as a unit, you know, rather than having to record to a click track each individual part, which depending on how you do it can make it sound more stiff. Recording it all at once like that can make the basic track feel a little bit more natural.
Jeffrey, have you played in a band before?
I have, but I've never really done any proper studio work with a
But you've played with
myself.
a band, right?
Yeah.
So when you're jamming and you've got the bass player, the guitarist, and the drummer all together, how does the groove evolve differently than if you just start off with the drums and then the bass player comes in and then the guitarist, they add parts one by one. The drummer doesn't hear the other parts.
When you're playing together in a band at the same time, generally the parts tend to interact with another. Like the guitarist and the drummer may bounce off each other, or parts will line up together, and you can, in some cases, take it in different directions than you were originally expecting.
Right. Has anybody played jazz before in a group? Why would jazz be even harder to do track by track? You know, jazz records are not made with the drummer by themselves and then the piano player comes in and then you add the bass. Why is jazz as a style really require having everybody playing together at the one time?
A jazz rhythm section builds ideas off of one another, so it's a lot easier for them to be in a room recording together as opposed to one track, because when you're recording together, like say a pianist is comping for somebody and a bassist hears it, then you wouldn't be able to feel that same thing as if they were just layering it track by track.
And that's good. And what about if we're going to have a saxophone solo? What would be the problem of recording the rhythm section and then having the sax player come in and add their solo on top of that, which is how we usually do rock records?
There is a big component of rhythm sections accompanying jazz soloists, with certain members of the rhythm section almost echoing or playing off of the soloist.
Yeah. It would be really sad for the soloist to be playing a solo and not get any response from the rhythm section. You know, like you say, little answers and dips in the energy. And jazz, you know, you can't make a jazz record the way pop records are made as a production line kind of thing. Okay, good. Well, this is really helpful. This is the schedule for the song 1. As I said, your individual demos due before class on Tuesday. Make sure all those links work. Then you'll have a week to do your group recording. And for Tuesday, get that link to your recording. It can be a simple demo. We just want to hear the chords and the melody and the lyrics. Uploaded to SoundCloud, linked as we saw today. Link from your lyric sheet. Remember to keep the spacing right so there's no blank line between the chord symbol and the line that it goes with, but there is a blank line separating each pair. And then there's an extra blank line between verses so that the verses group. And you don't need to put in labels like chorus and refrain. We'll understand that when we see it. We saw how to test your links in a private incognito mode. So be sure your links work, because we'll have a limited amount of time on Tuesday to play everybody's song. We don't want to waste the time. We could be discussing songs by trying to figure out, you know, how to grant permission so other people can view those links. So test them out. You might ask one of your pals to test it for you too, just so that, you know, ask other people in their group if they were able to play your stuff. If you're listening to each other's, you know, try to have listened to each of your team members' songs and come to class already kind of with an idea of which song you think might be the easiest to record. If you notice in doing that somebody's links don't work, give them a shout out and tell them, hey, you know, get those links working. I want to hear your song. And then touch base with your partners and start thinking about what resources and skills do they have. You know, who's got a DAW at home? Who could maybe create a basic track that somebody in the studio could overdub? You might want to start off with some kind of computer realization of it and then send somebody the track and let them overdub it at their house. And then they pass that on to another member of the team. You might have two people working together and the other people adding on separately, you know. So start thinking about who's good at what, who has what sort of a material, hardware and software at home. And then just overall the strategy, how are you going to come up with the best recording you can that's the most expressive and really sells the song in a week? So that's the challenge. And we've had a little experience with sharing our screens today and creating shared documents. This collaborating with each other from a distance and figuring out how you break a project down into the resources that are involved and who has what pieces of it and who can do what when and getting it all scheduled. I think it's a challenge, and I'm going to be interested to see how far you can get in a week. But it's something I think that you'll encounter more and more professionally. It was already happening a lot before the COVID isolation, and now I think it's only going to be intensified by a factor of 10, that studios are going to be increasingly distributed. People are going to be working at home on different pieces. They're going to be collaborating and writing songs together over Zoom. So it's an opportunity to get and jump into that world. If you're on campus, go by and see if your ID card swipes you into the studios. And if it doesn't, let me know, and I'll get together with Jeff. This is what we did today. Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, I can't hold my, the suspense is killing me. I can't wait to hear what your songs sound like on Tuesday. And you know, it's not too late to go through one more time and check your lyrics and make sure that they're as tight as can be. And good luck, and let me know in the meantime if you have any questions. I'll be here in the next hour for office hours. Email me if you get stuck anything, and I'll hang around for a few minutes if you want to linger. Thanks so much for coming today. Bye, everybody.